Hey, welcome back to the Wicked Wild. It's your boy Dave, the hillbilly host from the west coast of the Appalachian Mountains. And we've got a corny little folk horror by Stephen King to talk with you about this week. So if you mind, just lend us an ear. Oink. And we'll talk about Children of the Corn, the original, not the new one. But before I do that, I want to reach out and say hey to my co-hosts here. I'm going to start with John up in the Michigan area, the metropolitan Detroit, Michigan area.
That's correct, Dave.
None of that farmland they've got up there. He's a city boy.
Oh, we got ourselves a big city boy now,
exactly.
do we?
Yeah.
I was going to say, give me like 3 minutes heading west. You'll be right by the farms.
I'm sorry, John. Long. If you drove 3 minutes in any direction, you officially become the Outlander. Mm-hmm. That's just facts.
This is true. Just don't take my woman, okay?
So my question for you is, did you know that Burt in this movie was a doctor?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, well, he's not a doctor yet. He's an intern.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure you picked up on
only
that.
4 years.
It was a very subtle little writing that they did to a little nuanced part of his character development is that he's an actual doctor.
His Hippocratic oath is very flexible considering he threatened the guy who wouldn't tell him where to go.
Yeah, and I don't understand. And this is like movie 3 or 4 that we've had with a actively incompetent doctor as one of the main characters.
If we're all being honest, for that hobo guy, right? He did have a dead child in his car. So exactly. I feel like that's a little bit of a tense situation that maybe you would not handle like a regular human being.
I cannot wait to talk about that dead child in his car.
Exactly.
One of my favorite scenes. That's my favorite
oh my
scene.
God. I have what made now
so many notes.
My favorite quote on the planet written down on a piece of paper right now. Anyway.
And then we've got Eli, our Pittsburgher.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
He loves it so much. He asked me before.
Never asked you
audience, just so you know, before I hit record every week, he reminds me.
Never done that.
Sometimes I forget, and I apologize.
Literally never has happened. Not a real thing.
What's going on, Eli?
Oh, living the dream one day at a time.
So does this movie give you pause specifically because of sort of your plans for the future as, when the apocalypse hits and you are going to be a leader of a group like this as the Mo King? Do you have any people that you're concerned with might be your Malachi that's going to...
Here's the deal, right?
Hostile takeover by the head mole kind of thing?
Here's the deal, right? First off, my people ain't going to act like this, okay? We're not a bunch of weirdos walking around corn.
I'm sure Isaac would have said the same
We're
thing.
A cool group. 2, you know how you nip that dissenter problem in the bud? You are the leader and the dissenter. So I'm going to be Isaac and Malachi, right?
That's like arguing with yourself?
They're never going to know what's going on. You keep them confused and scared, right? That's why you don't have that problem. All the greatest leaders in the world, that's how they did it.
I need to remind you that you're in a proactive recruitment stage right now to try and get people to join the Mo Kingdom. That may not be the information.
Let me put it this way: these people, right? They'll never be boring.
That's true.
And I just have your best interest at heart.
Okay.
Everything I do for you.
And then, of course, we've got Jaime up in New York, Manhattan, which I think is Ojibwe for the land of pizza.
Oh, a pizza field? Imagine. Children of the Pizza? Might have been a better movie.
He who walks behind the crust.
How's it going, Jaime?
It's going well.
So I am so excited for your perspective on this film because let's just get our facts straight here. First and foremost, the one thing, to use an Eli term, the 2 things I know to be true above and beyond everything else, beyond babies walking backwards or horses looking after, the 2 things I know more than anything in this world is that Jaime friggin' loves folk horror. And she, above and beyond that, Jaime friggin' loves child actors. So this is like the Jaime show. I'm so excited to get your feedback on
Dave, you are like, I love when you just get me because my first note on my page, literally I always, because I'm a creator, I write the movie we're doing, I write the date so we have record of when we recorded it.
Ooh,
and then my first note says, I mean, it's a little off the focus, but it says religion plus kids, not a Jaime mix.
And that's all this is.
God.
So, audience, you should buckle up. This is going to be a fun episode. I guarantee it. Your money back if you're not fully amused and entertained by this episode. Full refund.
That's a big free 99, people.
But before we get into that, I am going to ask our resident Mole King to give us our wicked whispers.
You know, I every week I feel like I'm coming as your prophet of doom, because the world is getting worse and worse. It seems like every day. But if everybody will please pull up your end of the world 2023 bingo card. If anybody is placing bets on potential wormholes, you may now have a dog in this race. It became a popular theory, right? About a year ago, like people on the internet started joking that when the Hadron Collider, when they fired it up there a couple years ago, that they think it created an altered timeline and that we're all living on it. And that's why it seems like every day is a existential crisis for humanity. And that's why we are where we are, right? It's
we're
chaos
in the toilet dimension.
We're in the chaos realm. Well, some scientists thought, fuck it, we're going to test that theory. And they want to either see if they can use the Hadron Collider to somehow, I don't understand it, but to
do it
measure, again, basically, and then to measure something to see if that was a possibility, or in what I like to call famous last words, try to create it ourselves on maybe a smaller scale.
Would you categorize this as a F around and find out sort of hypothesis?
This is most certainly a fuck around and find out hypothesis occurring. So, there was at the time when they fired, take you guys all back to the 2021 machine. There's a time when they fired it up. There was concern. Some people theorized that they could potentially create a black hole, but that is CERN. I would claim or consider maybe one of the most advanced scientific organizations in the world. And now you just have some guys who like, we are scientists. We're going to try to make her out. So buckle up, people. If anybody had dying by the hands of the mist on your bingo card, this may be your year.
Keep your dollars in.
Mm-hmm. This may be your year, people.
Oh, good. Because the thing about it is, I mean, life has been incredibly boring for the last 3 years.
That's right.
We needed something to spice things.
You know what? Let me ask you guys this question, right? Let's say these assholes accidentally open up one of these dimension holes. They're like, oh, that should be our time. Oh, wait, it's not. What would you rather come out? Like the mist stuff? Aliens, like from like the Alien franchise? Any terrible critters? I wouldn't mind fighting critters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if I had a golf club, I'd be fine.
Yeah, well, unless they make the giant critter ball, then you're in trouble.
I would just get a bigger golf club.
Of course. I don't think Looney Tunes physics really works in that.
It does work.
Whoops.
Not yet. You're opening up a wormhole. Anything's possible.
Hold on a second, Dave. What if they open it as Looney Tune worlds? Then you could get those antics, fight the critter. I'll just get the Acme, black hole thing. They go right in. I'm good to go.
If we have a suspicion that we've entered the Looney Tunes universe, do you mind if I drop a piano on you to test it? Mm-hmm. I mean, just to confirm.
Could we maybe try one of the lighter gags, like maybe the pie in the box first?
What about an anvil? We'll meet halfway.
I feel like an anvil is heavier than a piano.
Yeah, tomato.
I think that's subjective.
Well, thank you for that, Ela. And as luck would have it, as you remember, you were our synopsizer last week.
I was.
So you get to be my partner in crime in our On the Fly Synopsis, where I ask you a question, and then that randomizes who's going to have to give the synopsis for Children of the Corn, not Corn and the Children. That's a totally different movie.
I would not be on the show for that movie.
So my question for you, Eli, is who would you rather take a cross-country road trip with in a car with no radio or AC? Would it be Burt?
Okay.
Would it be Burt, Malachi, or Isaac?
Definitely not Malachi, because that kid's got problems.
He's gonna have a smell, especially in a car with no AC.
And like I'll be honest, like listen, I have red in my beard, you can't really tell. But like he's one of those creepy gingers, you know, that doesn't really help with his total vibe.
Some might say he's the OG creepy ginger.
Yeah, let's just say it up top. He's one of the ugliest kids to ever exist in cinema.
In a movie full of ugly children.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome. Burt, I would get tired of hearing that he was a doctor. And also, I don't think my boy Burt does well in what I would call high pressure situations. So you know what? I think me and Isaac, because I think we could talk about some stuff.
He has the most obnoxious voice I might have ever heard.
Yeah, but you know what? I turn the radio up.
No, just quote script. No, there's no radio.
Just roll the window down.
Just sing hymnals together. Just sing.
Also, here's the thing too, right? Say if I decide like I don't want to hear anything. Isaac was what, 4'2"? I could like drop kick him out the window.
Well, I can see that. I mean, cult leader to cult leader, you'd have a lot of notes to compare.
Listen, it's like the Highlander. There can only be one. There can only be one.
That leads us to John to give us our synopsis for Children of the Corn.
Crazy.
And those were all terrible decisions, so it didn't even matter who you were associated
with. Wait, can I ask you a question? Who would be Malachi?
I was Malachi because I'm the ginger haired weirdo.
I knew it.
I got my horse teeth. Come on, I know I'm not attractive.
I knew it.
Wow.
Wait, are you saying Burt was attractive?
I'm saying Burt was the one. He was the Outlander, and we know on our group the Outlander for
let's be honest
is Jaime.
Let's be honest, right? When they got this cast together, like we have to have at least one good looking person. They're like, we can afford Linda Hamilton. They're like, what about the rest of them? They're like, go to the Sears parking lot.
The dude was conventionally 80s attractive. Like, what are you talking about? He was totally conventionally like I don't know.
If he wasn't wearing baggy clothes, he would be a meth head in an alley.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't pay attention to his clothes, but
wow.
Let John synopsize the movie.
Well, that being said, two people in a car on a way to an internship in Seattle get sidetracked into the middle of nowhere and is in a town where children have literally murdered all children. And somehow the town
all adults, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Children, adults, whatever. People died. So all the adults are dead. And somehow this town is still upright after 3 years of children living there who wouldn't know how to fix anything, but things still work. And apparently there's some mysterious force that's like a really early stage CGI matter that flows on bodies and gives them really, really like bad cold sores on their heads.
Yeah, this that effect, and which we'll talk about more in a minute, it strains the term visual effect.
Oh, we will.
Okay.
My.
Well, because she is fired up and we're talking about two of her favorite subjects, I'm going to let Jaime start us off. I know this is your 30th viewing of Children.
I watch this movie all the time. I love children. So I really thought, I still think I saw this as a kid. Never watched it again based on the facts of what this movie's about. Couldn't remember a thing. So let's say this is watch number one for Jaime. There's really not even much for me to say. Like, I know this is a classic. It's fine. I know all the references that come from it. But it's a movie that, as you could tell, does nothing for me. Like, there's just nothing. It's just boring. I know I say that about a lot of things, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's like a terrible movie, even though, like, of course the kids pissed me off. Dave hit it right up top. Like, they were just, Isaac's voice was grating. Every time they yelled Outlander made me want to like throw something at the TV. Malachi is, again, I'm so sorry, and I don't mean to judge, but I'm judging, but like one of the most offensive people to look at for a whole movie. And like
Jaime was insulted by the way he looked.
But even like the kid's narration pissed me off. Like, I don't need a kid narrating my movie, like a literal child, like right out of infancy. I don't know. It's you touched on the special effects. The special effects almost make this unwatchable at the end because like I couldn't even get over that. Like, it's the 80s, man, early 80s. Like, we watch a lot of movies from the early 80s. There's a lot of horror that came out of the early 80s. And maybe they just
Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that too. Dave, well, good point.
Hey.
But like, it's again, I'm going to use the same phrase. I'm sorry, but like, it's offensive, the visual effects in this movie. Like, they should have just not did it. Like, they should have just come up with smoke or done something and like created something else because it looks terrible.
Jamie,
so terrible.
If you're trying to figure out why it looks so terrible, would you like to guess how much money
I'm sure
this movie was made for?
But what I'm saying is they shouldn't have done it because it was so terrible. Like, someone should have saw that in editing and said like, shit, we need to pull that out.
I don't think they could afford an editor.
Whatever. They put it in and they should not have.
We're just 1 year from Back to the Future.
Yeah, like, true. Come on, man. Anyway.
They only made this for $800,000.
I don't care.
I think Linda Hamilton was $450,000.
Okay.
And how much did they make The Void for that we just reviewed?
Oh, that was like ridiculously low. Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, point being is I don't, as Dave said, I don't do folk horror. I don't do religion. So this kid just spouting off like he's the second coming of Jesus or wherever he is. I'm like losing all interest in this movie and fading quickly because I just can't. And I don't like children. So it's like, it's hard, this movie for me. Is it the worst thing I've ever seen? No. Is it horrible and horrendous? No. Will I ever watch it again? No. So
if you had
Children of the Corn.
If you had a DVD player and a copy of Midsummer and Children of the Corn, what are you throwing in?
God damn it, Dave. Holy fuck.
Oh, Midsummer all the way. You should get the gore in the bear. You get the bear.
That's
scene.
Right. I was just thinking of maybe I don't like the bear scene. It's mean. They kill a bear.
Yeah. Well, yeah, fair.
Okay. At least you get the cliff scene. Can I just put the cliff scene? That's the only gore, really, is the cliff. Anyway, forget it. That's it. Dave, I'm jumping off the cliff.
She's reading a book.
Well, I was going to say, Jamie, we'll let you out of it, right? But you constantly, like every home you live in till the day you die,
has the Blair Witch.
In every room of your house, you have to have a framed picture of Malachi. If you do that, then you don't have to watch either of those movies. But every room in your house has to have a framed picture of Malachi.
No, I'll watch one of those movies. No way.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay.
Fuck it. Okay. Give me Midsummer. I don't give a shit.
Holy shit!
I don't want to look at them.
By the way, dear Courtney Gaines, we love you, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, in this episode, this is not personal. This is a honest reaction to something that happened 35, 40 years ago. So.
Mm-hmm. Listen, you know what? You had to glow up, my guy. As you got older, you looked better. When you were a teenager,
a lot of people do.
He grew into those teeth.
He grew into those teeth and lips and face and body and just not looking like a troll.
I guess he listened to the request of change your face or I'll change it for you.
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe he got in a really bad street fight, like, and what happened to Squidward happened to him. He got beat beautiful.
Oh my God! Let me point out them SpongeBob SquarePants references.
Oh yeah, I went deep. Jamie, sorry, was that your whole?
Oh, I'm done. Yeah,
you're done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Eli, our resident partner in crime with me of loving folk horrors, what do you think of this movie?
Oh, I love this movie. I love the book. I love the movie. Religion, like if you like, there is some creepy stuff. Like when you read a lot of religious texts and stuff, there can be, and like these movies that kind of take just it on its head or like make like that. I always enjoy those, and like I also enjoy like the lore aspect of it, and the fact that like old farming tools all look like they were meant to murder or mayhem. So like seeing like deranged children carrying them around. I'm all there for it. All there for it. As I've gotten older, I understand this movie is not anywhere near perfect. But as I've gotten older, I have now grown to the realm where I love some of the cheesiness they've decided to do for this movie. My favorite scene is when he's driving like Burt's driving the car and hits that kid. Because normally when they show a kid get run over by a car, right? It's like they do slow-mo or like they do something, make it look dramatic. You literally watch as the stunt driver speeds up, and it literally looks like a scene from Cops. Like he plowing into that kid who goes launching. It's just laying bloody in the street. Love it. And then our doctor checks his pulse.
Yeah,
and his reaction of going out there basically being like, "No shit," like not even like I just hit a child, but just like, "Oh shit," and he's like, "Oh, I didn't do it. He had cutthroat. Didn't do it. Breathe." And like, there's also like in that Burt, Burt's one of my favorite characters because then like at one point he's swinging at kids, like kicking and hitting them with pipes, just shoving them down. And then like the end, they're fighting the demon.
Burt's my hero for how he treats children. In this
movie. God, yeah. And then at the end, he's like fighting. When they're like going to fight the demon, and like first he's like telling the kids not to like, oh, don't go out there. And he's like, fuck it. You kids grab gas and start spraying. You kids do this. Like, dude does not give a shit about the kids. I don't think he barely likes his own wife. Because he's like just like
girlfriend.
Whatever.
The whole point is he won't
say they're not even married.
Yeah,
well, that's definitely why he doesn't care. And then like even at the end, he like hits one of the kids on the car door, and it's not even like, oh my god, it's like, no shit, did I kill another kid this time? Oh no, got Paul, we're good. Let's go. Fuck it, let's go. So like it like so like there's other scenes where like it's just like the just cranking it to 11. The guy that plays Malachi, God bless him. It's like he looked in the mirror and said, I'm already the ugliest kid in America during this time frame. I'm going to have the ugliest personality. And he nailed it. There's never been a more annoying kid in film in my life. Love it. It's just everything about this movie. I just love it. Everything.
Wow.
And as I get older, I just love it more and more.
Wow.
So I'll ask you the opposite question. You got one DVD and I'll offer you 2 discs. Ooh. This or Blair Witch Project. Which are you watching?
Do I have to consider the sequels?
No, it's just the disc. This is all you get to watch for the rest of eternity.
I would probably go with Children of the Corn for the pure reason of if I want to feel scary, I feel like I can work myself back up in that mindset of like, this creepy kind of religious cult. And children with old farming tools. But then if I just need a laugh, I can watch my boy Burt run over that kid. I feel I feel like I'm giving myself some wiggle room.
You got more to work. You got more to work with.
Got more to work with.
Probably very true. Mm-hmm. All right, John, bring the Detroit truth to this movie.
Oh, I don't know if there's any Detroit truth to this.
How about some pure Michigan then? Can you throw us?
Some pure Michigan. Wow, you're taking me back. That slogan came out like. Gosh, must have been like 20 years. Anyways,
John, I'm an old dude. Okay.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm not far behind. But this movie, it's so funny. This movie got hyped up so much when I was younger. Like, oh, it's scary. Oh, it's scary. Movie 1, not scary. 2, it could have been scary. And 3, that those effects are just laughable. However, I think there's some really good camp and cheese in here if you can bring yourself around to watch it. Mm-hmm. Burt is definitely, I don't know, is he present? That's what I like. He seems like he's there. He doesn't really care about Linda Hamilton. Really, I mean, he knows he has to. It feels like I have to go do this. Like if he had a choice, he would just probably bounce and be gone. I don't think he would really care. But the fact that he has the opportunity to murder children and look like a hero, he's way in. So he takes that opportunity because the guy told him, "Dude, just drive 19 miles. You don't even have to see these crazy people." And he's like, "Screw that. I want to go see these nut jobs." It's just, well, the sad part about it is the effects, though, because they had that really cool effect with the ground. And I read a little bit about how they did that. It's pretty cool.
It was low tech, too.
Very. And it looked amazing, even though they used a carcinogenic, cancer causing thing, vermiculite. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
It's like asbestos. Don't worry about it.
Funny you say it, Dave. Except this is like particleized, so you can inhale it faster.
I mean, they're outside. They're outside.
Exactly. Just breathe through your nose. Breathe through your nose.
All that corn stopping it.
Anyway,
but my favorite part about the movie was the set dressing and how just corn stalks are just everywhere for no good reason, but everything else is clean. It's just like Hey, set dressers, can you just throw some corn stalks everywhere?
On this car.
It wasn't vines. It was corn grew out of everything.
Corn everywhere. Just not even like it's growing. Just like just leaves. Just leaves. Just stalk. We're just gonna put this like at the movie theater.
It was decorative. It was fall. They were decorating for the
all year round. All year round. All the time. It was just, but to Eli's earlier point about it being made for 800,000, which I found interesting. But do you know what the budget was, Eli? It wasn't 800,000. It was 1.3 million, at least according to the IMDb trivia. And the reason why they only got $800,000 to make this movie was Stephen King said, "Hey, I need more money if you're going to use my name to promote it. If you don't give me more money, you can't use my name." So they gave him $500,000 to cut the budget by it.
That literally does not surprise me.
Yeah, and then later,
aren't we in the cocaine errors?
It's funny you say that, Eli, because also in the IMDb trivia, also in the trivia was the director later in an interview said, I'm pretty sure he just wanted the money for more drugs.
Yeah, pretty sure this was a cocaine. But you know what?
I don't think that's a question. Yeah.
This was a magical time in the Stephen King film because he didn't really give a fuck. And so they were just making these boom, boom, boom. And these are kind of the golden oldies. And then I feel like it was kind of after this when he got sober. Then he's like, oh, let me. And then you're like, don't touch it so much. Just let it go.
Is there any way we can force in Maximum Overdrive on the show?
I love Maximum Overdrive. That is my favorite Stephen King movie, Maximum Overdrive.
I'm probably right there with you, Eli. It's so good. But anyways, back to this one. Yeah, this one does not hold up over time because the sad part is kids could be scary. And I was kind of hopeful they could go really, really dark with the new one, which I've never seen, but I never heard anything. So I'm going to avoid it.
Fair enough.
But Dave, what'd you think?
But can kids be scary? They're children. They're fucking children. It's laughable that kids try to be menacing. I'm sorry. I just have to throw that out there.
Have you seen Del Toro's Devil's Backbone?
Yeah. Actually, oh my God, that's a really good example.
Only one I have. Yeah, I have not seen that. But.
That's a really good example.
And I'm not saying yes or no. I'm saying go see that, and we'll have a conversation.
Or I would even say the original "Let the Right One In," not the American version.
Yeah, I saw it. That kid, she did not creep me out in any way.
Well, look at you, Miss.
She's a child. I'm sorry, I just don't find children.
A child that's a vampire.
Jamie's not afraid of anything.
Wow.
That's the age of 12.
Did the Omen scare you?
No.
Oh my God, you have no heart.
Child. I can punch him.
A child with demonic powers. Wow.
I'm taking Jamie with me into the apocalypse to take out the Antichrist.
Well, hopefully if they're a kid, you'll be good.
Pretty sure.
Hey Dave, how'd you think this movie?
I'm just waiting for the the chorus to die down there. So I haven't seen this in years, probably since college, which without getting into information that people have no business knowing, that's been a while for Dave. But this is not a favorite. And when I saw that this was coming up, I knew that this would be the kind of conversation we had. I knew, to Jamie's point, I knew where Jamie was going to be. I pretty much knew where Eli was going to be, and I wasn't sure where John was going to land on this one, but I really enjoyed his insights and kind of his experience with it. This is like one of my least favorite King movies. And I realized as I was kind of putting my notes together, I don't think that Stephen King is great at folk horror. Now, in his defense, I do think that Needful Things is a much better folk horror than this is. This tries to be a folk horror, but it's not really. And I'm giving my opinion as a amateur movie critic. And my definition of folk horror is a good folk horror is like quicksand. Like it's very slow and it builds. And as you're going along and listening to the story as the audience, you always have these moments of, oh, they're going to figure this out. Like whoever the protagonist is, they're going to figure out what's going on there. They're going to get out of this until it's so deep in that you get to a point where like, there's nothing they can do at this point. They're either the cult has got them or the magic or whatever the folk horror third act is. They've slowly walked into something. They've been lied to, they've been deceived and all that until they get to a point that there's no turning back. This doesn't have that because it's a king story and it has a king structure. And I don't think a king structure translates very well into a folk horror style. And again, I'll say it again, Needful Things probably gets the closest to any of this stuff. Also, and it's not really a folk horror, but Skinny, or what is the name of that
Thinner.
one? Yeah, Thinner. Thank you. Skinny. I'm going to get some
Might as well
comments
be
on
Skinny.
that. But anyway, that one has some of that structure too. And again, I'm sure there are plenty of ways to define folk horror. Those are the kind of folk horrors that I like. They're slow burns. All of the reasons that Jamie will give you for hating a folk horror are the reasons that Dave likes folk horror. They're slow burns. They make you think. There's symbolism. There's all of this stuff that you're supposed to be collecting along the way, the clues. It's kind of like a mystery. A good folk horror movie is like a mystery. You're trying to figure out at what point would I have realized and survived. But it's really hard to stay locked in on this. I had a really hard time staying engaged with the movie. Even like I said, I haven't seen it long enough. It's not that I remembered stuff and was getting bored. It's that I couldn't stay engaged because none of the characters really kept me in it. I couldn't. The other problem I had, and to Jamie's point, and I usually am okay with, I can suspend disbelief with kids. The problem with this is all of the kids were friggin' all over the place in talent. Like there were some that I would consider very good, like Isaac and Malika. I thought they were very good at playing those roles. And then the younger kids, Sarah and what's his name?
Job.
Job. Yeah.
How dare you name a child Job, by the way?
Exactly. But they were so amateur that it was really hard to stay engaged, that they were really
it was like someone's
existing
kids.
in this universe.
They were
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like
So it was hard to stay really engaged in it. I was convinced Robbie Kiger, who plays Job, and I was distracted the whole time. I was convinced he was the kid that grew up to be the kid in Big, who is David Moscow. Y'all have seen Big, the young Tom Hanks. He looks exactly like him. So I was playing on my phone trying to figure out that little mystery. But obviously I was wrong. And the other issue I had, and I had to kind of reset or recalibrate my brain, this is an R movie. There is nothing about this movie that makes it an R movie. Like I don't see any R in it. Other than
is it a kid got run over?
Yeah, a kid gets plowed down.
A little bit of blood.
Well, I think too. Also, you have to remember you're in the height of. And to your point, I don't know if I classify as folk horror. I think he wanted to go that route, but then he ended up mixing religion, and I think that's kind of a hard mix. And he kept going back and forth. But you have to remember, this is kind of the ramp up of Satanic Panic, and a lot of movies that directly involve that religion like that, they were being very careful with. Because you had protesting parents and such.
And that's the note that I made. I had to calibrate my brain because this is 1984. This is literally the height of the MPAA interfering in horror movies and movies altogether. It's the Reagan years, the Satanic Panic, like you said. The Senate was meeting on the mental dangers of violent video games and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, we were all living in that, and I forget that. But for this movie to get an R, I'm like, this movie is not an R movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Made for TV.
Exactly. Yeah. And you had mentioned that, I think, before we started recording, but it feels very made for the small screen kind of thing. So those are my overall thoughts. Any feedback on anybody's
first off, don't appreciate how you went after my boy Job. Okay. He's in one of my favorite movies and I don't appreciate it.
What's your favorite?
Okay.
movie?
What's the movie?
You can tell us what?
Monster Squad.
Oh, yeah. He is one of the kids.
Yeah, he plays Patrick. Yeah. Monster Squad.
I don't know their names, but
he plays the little boy.
Oh, the little, the young. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one with the dog.
Yeah, hopefully he got a acting coach before that, because the performances are totally different. In this, he is lost like a ball in high weeds. And again, I usually defer to the director, that it's the fault of the director if a child actor is not giving the performance that he should be getting, if he just gives up or whatever. But a child actor is a child actor. There is a limit to their talent at that point. But as a director, you've got to get them to. I mean, I think the GOAT of child actors is Steven Spielberg. I mean, he would act around their limitations, or he would direct around their limitations in a way that made it feel very authentic. This was the opposite of that. It's like he gave them lines, he fed them lines, and told them marks to hit and what to do with their bodies, and that's it. And whatever they got, they got. So it was hard. Anyway.
Oh, you could tell they were leaning heavy on that girl in the church, Malachi and Isaac. They carry all those children. Like
Right.
they knew from the front. They're just like, hey, we're gonna go with the weird short one, that creepy ginger, and that girl who somehow looks young and old at the same time.
Okay.
You guys are gonna carry this movie.
Also,
But
keep in
except
mind-
that, sorry, except that Job and Sarah, I can't believe I'm remembering these names. Like the young girl, like they're like the heart of the, like they're like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like they're
They're
good
what's at
guys.
stake. Yeah.
So they're supposed to, and like for them to just be so,
Yeah,
like,
but like by the I say by the beginning of the movie, they're basically props at that point. Job's somebody for Burt to yell at and to take him from point A to point B.
Job
and that-
helps save the day. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, but like because he's blatantly getting yelled at, even though like,
He does
literally
that on his own. He does that on
Well,
his
no.
own. He runs
like
off.
he saves them, but then like that guy proceeds to just yell at him and MF him
Well, he's
for
yelling at everybody.
save him, and then he's like go back to the barn, and then he's like okay, then he's like hurry up and get this gas. He's like all right,
I'm sorry.
my man Burt did not give a fuck. Okay. Not about them children, not about his girlfriend, not about that corn.
I'm sorry, but my favorite Job moment was early on in the movie when he's in the coffee
He
shop.
drinks the milkshake like
And
Strawberry
gets the
milkshake.
strawberry milkshake, and he
Honest-
pulls the straw and then hogs that bad boy.
Yeah. And not even like
Fucking
drink, like
face.
he like
He just
tilts
tips
back.
it up.
And it's on his fucking face for the whole scene.
Yeah.
And and like, I'm like, oh my God.
And then you're thinking, this is how alcoholism starts. That's what
And
this
like
kid's
your last memory your dad has before he died is turning and seeing his asshole son take the straw out of his milkshake and dump it on him like a piece of shit. Like
Wow.
like okay,
maybe he embraced death at that moment. It's like,
Yeah.
just
it
do
just take me like this kid's not gonna amount to anything.
Embrace the chaos.
It almost reminds me of Andy in the beginning of in the first Child's Play when like he's making breakfast and he literally puts the whole tub of butter on his mom's toast.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, if I was that mother, I'd have beat him to death.
Well,
I hate
and
that movie.
And to the point you made earlier about the girl Rachel, who was played by Julie Medellina, being the old young kind of
Mhm.
swap. You know how old John Franklin was, who played Isaac?
I do.
Oh, he was old.
24.
He was 24 years old when he made this.
Yeah.
movie.
Really?
Yeah, I think he has I believe he has some type of medical thing.
I have no idea. I know he was in the sequel, obviously, but then he also wrote some of the other.
Well, no, he wasn't in the
movies.
direct sequel. He didn't show up again. I think it's until number 4 or
In
5,
the 90s.
which is
99.
Children of the Corn 666. Isaac returns, and then somehow in that 15-year period, he went from looking very young to now a 100-year-old child.
Sure.
Because like he's around all his children, and like you're now starting to see the crow's feet, and you're like,
Is that the one he wrote? There was one that
he wrote.
I
he
believe
wrote
so, yeah.
He wrote a couple of them.
He
Okay.
had, just to answer Eli, he had GHD.
Yep.
But so he was signed on acting at 23 because he looked like 12. Can you imagine though the jackpot of that you could have
Oh,
someone
yeah.
that's capable of acting but looking so young? So like,
But they
Yeah,
misused
like-
it. I mean, you can't
Well,
do.
yeah.
There are some things legally you can't do with a underage
child.
actor. He's 24. You could have gonzoed that situation, made him ultra violent, or because of the way he looks, and it would have been so much more impactful.
I looked. He was only ever credited for Children of the Corn 666, but they believe he is uncredited on many more because they used his voice for a
Right.
couple of the other ones
Right?
because he had just the creepiest voice.
I don't know. How
guys,
does
he
one
plays-
watch more than one of these after this?
he plays
Oh my
cousin
God, love
It
him.
in the
Love him
Adams, the 90s Adams
Mhm.
Family.
Yeah, he sure does. He sure
That
does.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, when I saw that.
Yeah.
I want to go back for 1 second to Burt not giving a shit about this kid that he runs over, because like that whole scene to me, like, I guess like, and to John's point about the campiness of this movie, like that scene just sets it, because the fact that they run, I just want to repeat this. They violently run over, you see the body gets hit and roll and like run
No
over
brake
a
marks.
child, and they never acknowledge that they killed a child. And then he says, "My favorite."
He makes the point. They didn't kill him.
He was already dead when he stumbled into the road. I'm like, no, he was not. And I get this thing that like, oh, he was gonna die, but he wasn't.
If he walked into the road, he was not dead.
Into the middle of the road.
But like, I love it because it's almost like a Looney Tune moment because he's
and
like,
they killed him.
And then like as the cars come, he does the like it just smacks him.
It was a naked gun kind of kill.
And like when it cuts to that scene with the car, you watch the stunt driver speed up like so close to him,
floor it.
It just hit him.
The fact that a doctor is saying he was dead while he was walking. Like
the worst.
I don't care where he was gonna end up. I don't care if he was gonna bleed out. I don't care what was gonna happen. He was taking step by step into the middle of this road.
You should have known what you're getting for when you have the scene of like that scene. I love it. Like it sets the whole, like I think as I get older, it's become more of almost like a campy comedy to me. Cause like it starts off like, oh, the kids kill all of it, and then you just see Linda Hamilton, like they're talking, and like you know exactly what you're about to watch when like that look, you know, oh, okay, this is what this is. Because especially like when Isaac's tied up to the corn cross.
Oh my god,
and he's going, like he's not even saying words. He's just like making it like, you're like, oh my god, okay.
Just wiggle, kid.
Yeah. And like the way Malachi screams Outlander
1,000 times.
Well, you have your woman.
Oh my god.
Outlander.
Like it's almost like it's like he should be fighting oh man, what was that guy? What was that guy in the 70s? Flash Gordon. Like it's almost like he should be fighting Flash Gordon in like one of those episodes. Outlander.
I mean,
like, he cuts her face to make her scream. So like he comes running. As soon as he covers her mouth, it's like, well then why did you do that? Because they're not going to hear now.
Exactly.
Well, the worst bright.
No,
not very bright.
You could tell all of his brains went into the side of his mouth. Like his mouth was so big. Like I bet you that kid was like a boa constrictor. You know what I mean? Unhinge them jaws.
Let's just say that Dave got the impression that if he wasn't out here in a corn cult, he could have likely been a prophet in a certain Swedish cult community. I mean, I think he's got the right DNA to be a prophet.
Are you saying his pube would be in a cake?
No, I'm saying that his DNA, his genetic pool is shallow. That's the impression that I got.
I got you.
I'm also like confused. And again, this is putting logic in like not only a not great movie, but like a Stephen King adaptation, which I mean, how many good ones have there actually been? But like, I'm confused. And maybe like there is backstory of the book or something, but like, I'm just confused on how these children were able to even overtake adults in all situations. Not every adult was poisoned. Like not everyone. How these children were able, and how nobody from surrounding towns in 3 years have just like attacked and taken these children into homes and asylums and like put them into like it's just
and enslave the old man.
It's like they've existed for 3 years, it says, just living in Lord of the Flies, but in the middle of a town, like presumably in surrounding cities. Like we're not like, it's just, and I get it, but it's just like, it bothered me. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is just so dumb.
Well, and the funny thing is the fragility of it's so obvious even in the movie. Like when Malachi says, "You're not in charge anymore," and I was just like, "Nuh-uh," and he's like, "Yeah, that was it."
That's all.
Yeah, like they didn't do that, right? But like if I remember correctly, it's originally it's like a demon, and like it's through the blood, and they control the children or whatever, right? But then you find out in the Dark Tower series that it was actually, I can't remember if it was Pennywise's son.
It feels very same creature.
Or daughter or something. It's some relation, because Pennywise is like, that demon is like kind of one of the big bads in the Dark Tower series, because that connects all of his Stephen King's books, right? Or universes, right? And if I remember correctly, it's one of them are like in the plane, and like they have control, and like so they kind of separate it from like the plane, so like people kind of like forget that it's there unless they get tricked into there, and like it's just the whole thing.
Well, I'll be honest too, because I keep forgetting, because like it's important to point out that like you watch this movie and it's not long, whatever, but like the actual like, or at least to me, maybe I just faded out, but like the actual supernatural element of it isn't revealed till the end. So the whole time I'm just thinking they're just kids and religious fanatics. So I'm like, you could just overpower these kids. I forget that there's actually like a demonic element to it that, okay, fine. Okay, maybe there's some logic. I still don't see that 20 kids can overtake a whole town of adults, but that's beyond me. But like,
they all have to get drunk from the aged ones.
I just like, it's just silly. That's all.
Well, and to that point, and I want to back up just a second to clarify or complete thought that I'd made earlier about Stephen King and
drugs,
folk horror. No, that one is well documented. But I will say, Children of the Corn, the book, is worth the read, because I do think it is much better than the movie gives it credit for being. Because the whole "he who walks behind the rose" thing is much better kind of visualized, which is funny to say, in the book than it is in the movie. Like it is much more foreboding, and it's much more manipulative and influential on the kids and what's going on there. So that did hit a little more folk horror than the movie ever did.
I love
I believe that, because isn't that all Stephen King? Like, isn't it like these books are phenomenal, and then you get these adaptations and it's like
that they were thrown together on a shoestring,
and they're still like that. I'm sorry, but they're still like that. We're still like, there's been this resurgence thanks to like the success of it, and like then they did the Pet Sematary, and like Pet Sematary, whatever. But the old one is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It just is. It's nostalgia and it's whatever. But like they couldn't even redo it and do it well. Like I thought the new one was terrible, and I'm just like, you're gonna like redo these things even now under a modern lens. At least, like, come on.
I kind of think I think the thing with Stephen King though, and I think what people don't realize is like, or I think what people don't give him credit for is, like, if you listen to him in interview stuff, he always knew that the Dark Tower series was going to be his like kind of magnum opus, like, and that it was going to connect everything. Like he kind of did the book version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That you hear them talk about how every franchise in the world now does movies. I think so. When he's writing his books and when he was writing these stories, he was putting things in there to make those connections and set those things up. And I feel a lot of time with these directors, like they got to that and like they don't understand his thought process. He's too high on cocaine, or he doesn't want to tell them. And so like there's parts of his books where they get to know, like, now I don't fucking know this is, and they cut it out, not realizing exactly how integral it actually is, because they just don't understand it. And like we don't understand it. They didn't understand it. But like, and I don't know if that speaks to like how brilliant he is as a writer. Or was he just so high?
He was on another plane.
Came up with this thing. But I think that's like you see that with a lot of his movies. Like the Tommyknockers. I love the Tommyknockers. That I have never seen somewhat like something so funnily offensive to blind people as that girl. But I love that movie. And once again though, like if you read the story and then find a connection, like that is terrifying. But like when you watch, you're like, why is Pac-Man eating this guy? And how is this plane not landed?
They're all jokes. Cast? Yeah, they're all jokes. I mean, they all become jokes on television. And like I love Pet Sematary, but it's a joke. It's because there were jokes around it as a kid. It's like, I loved like my God, isn't like oh my God, my favorite isn't like Sleepwalkers him too?
Oh yeah.
Is that the cat people one?
Oh my God, I love that. I love those movie. Cat people. Oh my God.
But like, but they are kind of like jokes. Even the old It, the TV, the series one, like mini series is what I meant to say. Like I loved that too, but they're all kind of like, or they all fall apart in like the end, really, kind of. But
well, and to the fun little factoid, to the Stephen King integration of all his stories, the town that the mechanic tells them to go to, Hemingford, that's from another one of his books too. That's from The Stand. That's where all the people in their dreams are told to go to Hemingford. So that was also a nice little nod. I didn't like the whole getting lost by road sign. That was stupid.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Well, and I think once again, which I don't think they explain it very well, but I'm pretty sure what you find out is like that when that thing kind of took over that area, it's like separated. He can manipulate it, and once you're in there, it's really hard to get out.
It's dimensional.
Yeah, basically, and like
that's fine. It doesn't read like that. It reads like kids playing around with signs and just like go this way and now go this way.
And like that's what I think is weird. Like the director, like I said, Stephen King probably didn't explain it to him, and then like you know what I mean, like because the stand wasn't finished yet. Like he probably didn't explain that or whatever, and then he's like, I don't know. I guess we'll just make it the kids. I don't understand the sign thing, but fuck it, it's in there. I don't know. We got like a $500,000 less. Because we had to pay that asshole. And like, I got a bunch of ugly kids and Linda Hamilton. What do you people want me to do?
Well, and I've got a question that I want to ask. It's going to sound like a stupid question, but it is something that came up as I was watching this because I'm always interested how these kind of stories get inspired. And Stephen King's a wacky dude to start with. And maybe it was just a fever dream from one of his trips. That's fine. But it was interesting in this movie how often they hard framed on an open sky and then the corn knife coming into frame. It's almost as if the corn knife was the inspiration for how evil this movie could be. Like that hook build big blade, that's called a corn knife, and it's specifically made for doing that. But it is a wicked looking thing, which is hilarious because then they make the freaking movie poster with a sickle, which is a totally damn different thing. And if you know, nearly as wicked as a corn knife.
Really, most of the two shots they show for this movie is not the sickle, but it's either the butcher's hook or the corn knife. I think there's one kid in the background with a sickle.
Yeah. And
I don't think you use a sickle to cut corn.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to cut corn with. Anyway, I found it interesting that they kept using that weapon as sort of a hard frame of the tension, building tension or whatever. But I've used corn knives before, and they're not nearly as exciting as you would think they are. They're dull as butter knives, and you just whack at a corn stalk with them. But I did find it interesting. It made me wonder if it was something that Stephen King saw somewhere and thought it would be fun to make a movie about kids getting a hold of those and offing a family.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, if you think about it, if you drive to the country, you're in that area where like, I'm sure it is creepy because you're in that area where like kids are basically workforce. And so it's not uncommon to see like a 6-year-old out there with his corn knife
with big corn
in that roast. And like, could you imagine, right? You're a guy from the city, you're not used to that, and you're driving, and then you look over a cornfield to see a 6-year-old whacking at a corn and then
staring at you
and look at you with this big like long blade, like, and then you've been like, what the shit? Like, look at this.
I took too much cocaine this morning.
Yeah. I think I need more. Like, you know, or like you looking like a 10-year-old's driving a tractor and he's got that like deadpan, like I've been up for 12 hours mowing, like
doing adult work.
Yeah.
Well, and that leads me to my big question that I had for each of you. Because I had to think of, and maybe it's just because I'm dark brained. How long are you putting up with this before you start killing kids?
As the adults?
Yeah, just start snapping necks.
Immediately. We know me. Immediately. I'm punting these kids. Fucking Isaac's not making it more than what that voice, as soon as he opens his mouth, I'm shoving something in it and choking him to death because like, and
do you know how you
pulling
stop
that hat over his head so hard that like, it just, I can't.
Yeah, the first butchered adult I see, I'm swinging for the fences. Everything.
I don't give a shit what age they are.
Do you know how you stop this movie from occurring? When I realized they took my woman, I'm just going to find the first working car. Do you know what stops children? When you hit them with your car.
He's done it once. It works really well.
He's done it once. He's done it once. Just keep doing it. Just go through. I'm telling you, the best scene been like them all standing in the cornfield and like Ike's like, he who walks down the road and just through
the middle of their sacred ceremony.
Because like, and I thoroughly believe he could do it because you could tell he gave no shits about those kids at the end. There's all these kids in the barn and he's basically like, oh, we burned it to death. Fuck you kids, figure it out. And then he like leaves and then like his girlfriend's like, let's take those 2 kids. He's like, all right. Yeah, like we'll take the 2.
because he's gonna make a great friggin' dad.
Yeah,
you didn't like the a random adoption scene where it's like, oh, can they stay with us?
That's what I'm talking about.
Just a week, maybe a month.
Oh, you can tell in his face, he's just saying yes because as soon as they get to Seattle, hey, listen, I think we should see other people.
Yeah, that guy's going out to get milk real soon.
Yeah,
Yep. It never comes back.
Because you know why? He's a doctor. And he don't need this shit.
Did he meet anybody in this movie that his first part of his introduction was that he was a doctor? I can't think of anybody.
He told that weird mechanic.
Exactly.
It was like the first thing, hey, mechanic, I'm a doctor.
Like, okay.
And then you better not show up to my emergency room.
By the way, I'm a doctor with a dead kid in my arm.
Dead kid, yeah.
I got nothing to lose, dude.
And my favorite part is the mechanic then looks at the hood to see like the bloodlines, just go, well, I think you should go up on the road to Henderson.
Get out of my town.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind what I found hilarious too is that half these kids in this cult, if you will, whatever they are legal, are adults, because the age thing, first of all, for some reason was on their 19th birthday, not like their 18th birthday, which I found really weird. And when they would show a big scene of them, there was a lot of 18-year-olds in that, in this group of people.
If I remember,
let me do a little research here.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I thought the 19 was a biblical reference that they in the book they explained as a.
It might be, but they don't explain it in the movie. So I was like, well, there are basically adults in this or legal age.
And this is the way my brain works. I did a little research. In 1984,
when this came out,
the legal adult age was 19.
Oh.
That's when you could buy
what they
smokes.
were doing. All right. I was thinking 18. So I was just like, oh, it's weird.
I wonder when you could vote. Let me see.
Oh, yeah, the
voting age. Voting age in 19. I'm sorry, audience. We've gone down
this makes for great. Yeah.
Yeah, you could vote at 18. So anyway, but that is interesting there because I knew, again, the society we lived in 1984 was drastically different than it is today.
Yeah, it was just when at first it's just showing little kids. And then when it started showing them more and more, I was like, there's full-grown adults in this thing.
Exactly.
What is going on? I mean, let's keep in mind this whole time we are seeing Malachi, and he looked old the whole time. And I'm just like, why is this guy? Why is he not in charge just based on his size? He towers over all these kids, and they're obviously afraid of him. They keep bringing that up. And
the guy that was going to sacrifice himself looked like he was 30.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he looked like he was played football and could have just taken them all out. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
I'm so happy.
Yeah, oh my God. I wanted to bring up this has nothing to do with the kids and their age, but before I forget, the what I have written down as the corn Evil Dead scene. There's a scene where the corn doing the Evil Dead tree thing. Yep. And there was I'm not gonna lie, there was a moment where I was a little nervous where this movie was going with corn. Holy shit.
Were you afraid that Burt was gonna get cornholed?
Oh man.
Hey, but Dave, like I said, because you were a farm kid.
Sure was.
Did you used to especially
careful?
Well, listen, after the corn was picked, but the plant was still alive, and did you and your friends pull them out and hit each other with them? Because it hurts like hell to get hit.
Oh yeah, it's a club.
Oh, it hurts like hell. I didn't know if you were the only people that did that, or we throw acorns at each other too.
Well, we would stalk and then we would ear. So we would take all the stalks and put them on a wagon. Then all the stalks would go to the barn. We would ear the corn off of it. And
you did a little different.
Then we would stack the stalks in the teepee style.
Yeah, right.
To dry them out. And then you could feed them to the hogs.
You need to get Matt in this conversation because he used to shuck corn or whatever. These are all things that are foreign to that was his job. And he's going to yell at me if I'm completely wrong with this. But I come from New York and this wasn't even a thing that I go and I buy my corn in a can or on a cob or whatever. And that's the extent of my experience with corn. So
what I'll say is that
a place where goats were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There were no goats in this town.
No.
I will say that a lot of the farming was inaccurate, but there may have just been a kernel of truth.
Wow. Oh man. God. What was that one kernel of truth, Dave?
Wow.
Corn knife. That was an accurate corn knife.
That is.
They weren't using it right.
Also, since I'm getting old, I have to watch movies with subtitles. it's a twofold thing. It's I can't hear people or understand them sometimes, but B, it's the only way to keep me from being on my phone, like from totally just
okay.
not paying attention. Yeah, because I'm like reading. Yeah, it's the only way to keep me engaged. But I found it hilarious that like it was probably during the scenes with like the demon or whatever, but like it literally said at one point on our screen, it said corn howling, and I just thought that was hilarious and like adorable because like the corn was making sounds like.
Well, and we haven't really got into it. Let's talk about the big scene that we were led to with the transformation of Isaac and the effects of that. It literally ripped me out of the movie. It's so rough.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's one of those, I wish George Lucas would go in and do one of his classic Star Wars updates to that one scene. Just give me that scene accurate to what's shown in the book or what's talked about.
You son of a bitch. Because now I'm going to watch the remake that came out this year.
Just to
see that scene.
Yeah,
I promise you, Eli, that no matter how bad the movie is, like there is nothing that could be worse than those special. Like it has to be better, no matter what it is.
For the episode,
it has to be better. That scene, at least. Like that scene has to be better. Like you can report back.
Yeah, but like
there's no way.
It's not going to have all the joy in life leading up to that. Of my boy Burt, of child abusing a town.
No, I know that, but that Dave is right. I mean, that scene killed it. Like it was so terrible. Like that red, whatever that's supposed to be, like working its way up Isaac was like, I honestly couldn't believe I was seeing what I was seeing. There was like a moment where I thought the TV was just doing something fucking fucked up and weird. Because like, how could that be in a movie from 1984? It just didn't make sense. Like I know, like if we have any young listeners, 84 seems like forever ago, but like,
and it was.
It was, but like what I'm saying is like you brought up it's after Star Wars, it's right around Back to the Future, it's right, like this was like unwarranted the crappiness of this scene, and the big cloud scene was another one that just I could not believe I was seeing this.
Did any of you all see Altered States?
Yeah.
With John Hurt and Blair Brown. It was a 1980 movie, and it was a cosmic horror kind of thing. I think I've referenced it on a Twitter post I put out recently. The reason I ask is because the big climax of that movie has a lot of these effects, and I forget what they're called, but it's a celluloid thing where they're literally painting each frame of the actual film to make that effect, and they're like green screen painting it so that they can make that pattern thing happen, which is horrible. But Altered States did that and did it better than this, but even in that it's kind of rough. But again, that was 4 years prior to this, and between Altered States and this you had Star Trek and Star Wars, and you had technology you could put your hands on. It just felt like and I don't like throwing shade, but it just felt like the effects team may have been out of their depth with some of the stuff that was going on in this movie.
They should have just burned him or something. Like, but they should have done smoke or something. Like, they just should not have put that effect on there. It totally ruined it for me. Like, I would have not. What they were trying to do, I guess I kind of see it, but at the same time, I think it totally negated whatever they were trying to do because it just took me out of like anything actually happening here. Yeah, I was like, it's like magical now. Now it's just like this little like.
And even his makeup when Isaac comes back as the demon is rough.
Yeah,
I mean, they either had already blown through their budget with giving Linda Hamilton, but again, and we know Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, and I made some references on our little community earlier.
She was no Sarah Connor in this,
but
she punched one kid.
I guarantee you that this is in the same universe. This is like Sarah Connor. She went to LA and changed her name after the events.
After Burt broke up with her.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what? If I'm ever in a room full of killer children, I need to be able to kill them all.
I'm wrecking them.
And then robots come.
And when I raise a kid, he's going to be the leader of millions.
Yeah.
So Terminator was the same year. Like
exactly.
which one was first though? Because thank God she got Terminator. Because
this was March 9th.
This had to be like first, because if this was second.
It's a good question. Let me see.
I feel
this
like
came out March 9th.
Went her career. No.
Let's see. Yeah, Terminator came out in October, but I think Terminator was a longer production, obviously.
Oh, okay. So she was already, like working on that.
But you make an excellent point to what we were just talking about. This came out the same year as Terminator.
It's Terminator, yeah.
Jeez.
That's how big a difference a director can make.
Yeah.
And again, not throwing shade, but it is distracting.
No, it is. It totally is. It is. It's rough.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think the name of the game for a lot of these King movies was, well, we got to put some kind of effect in there because of what it is.
As in the book, it's unfilmable.
Yeah, how can we do it quickly and cheaply? They're like, well, we can just paint over some stuff and we'll make Isaac look like yellow Laffy Taffy ate him, and then when we show the demon, it's red Laffy Taffy, and they're like, all right, fuck it. Okay,
sounds great.
What can you give me like the cliff notes? What happens in the book?
It's a different ending.
I'm sure it's a very okay. Like
it's completely different.
It's completely different. It's a much
King, I feel
a much darker ending in the book than what this is.
Because he goes bleak. I mean,
yeah, real bleak.
Yeah, it's probably way better. So
it is way better.
Yeah.
It is. There is no Laffy Taffy kills.
Is there adoption?
There is no adoption.
Any children?
But to the point we made earlier, I think in the 80s, which is ironic because that's when a lot of his movies were made in the 80s, a lot of his stories would not have gotten past the MPAA board. You couldn't film them the way they had written them.
Well, if you remember when I believe it was on this show where I mocked and ridiculed him, the only Geraldo Rivera. However, I've said
Geraldo Rivera.
You definitely said Geraldo. You definitely said
Geraldo Rivera.
I think my favorite was Geraldo Javera.
Geraldo Javera. Geraldo Rib for your pleasure, whatever you want to call him.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he did that series all about the satanic panic and like pointing out Satan in every facet of human life with his unfortunately never pointed to his own mustache.
Yeah,
and his devil could hide there.
His cropsy expose,
right, and all that nonsense. But like when he was doing the satanic panic thing, I'm pretty sure he spent a couple episodes going after Stephen King. He's like, "Oh, you got Dungeons and Dragons, and then this Stephen King's coming out with 11 books a year about, and these kids are reading it. Devils everywhere."
Yes.
So I'm sure to your point that because if you like most of King's stuff. Is dark, bleak endings, and they tend to in most of the movies.
Like Pet Sematary.
Right.
Pet Sematary is one of my favorite. I mean, first of all, you killed a child, which was not allowed to be done.
By a car, by truck.
And I mean, young child. You had a bleak ending. You had a whole bleak storyline, basically. Yeah. But
yeah. Even in it, the whole Losers Club, they're coming together was a whole other thing.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
You know what? That one, he's even got a record and said like that one. I may have missed
that was
it.
He had said that.
He has said like he's like that one was like the cococaine.
Or what if he's just saying that though? I mean, that's.
I would rather what if he's not just saying think about it that way. I would rather us blame it on the cocaine.
It's the easy.
Let's just do cocaine, Jamie. Hey, Jamie, blame it on cocaine.
Insert Rick James. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
It is.
Right.
Right. Well, John, to a statement you made earlier, I wanted to get back to, I thought was interesting, and I didn't know this, but as I thought about it, King has not got a lot of sequels to a lot of his source material. This is the source material that has birthed the most sequels by a long friggin' shot.
But why?
Exactly. That's
why?
The question. What is it about this story that makes it so repeatable and scalable?
Honestly, I think it's because, like, first off, you have like America's got a fascination with like evil cults, right? I also
how many does this have? Wait, just before you, how many does this have?
Oh my god, I think it's up to what 6 or 7, Dave.
That's insane. Okay,
it is up. No, it is up to with the remake 10
or 10. Oh my god, yeah. Oh, that's right, because they tried remaking it again 2 years ago, and that was terrible.
Why? Okay, finish your. Sorry.
It has. Does it have more than Texas Chainsaw?
Oh yeah,
I
probably.
never would have guessed this ever in my life.
Exactly.
Like, I did not know.
Oh, you know what? No, they might be tied.
The
'Cause you
reason why they
had-
keep making them is Eli keeps going.
Yeah, honestly, listen,
Eli is
They're
single-handedly
not in thea- they're
keeping
not
this.
in theater,
can't help
aren't
it.
like none of that. Right?
Oh God, no, God,
Yeah.
Right,
So
yeah.
I
Listen,
mean,
But
I
they
can't-
know they capture him. They know
I
where
can't
he's
help
at.
it. I love me a good religious horror. I just
666 came to theaters, didn't it? I think I
do. Yeah,
remember seeing
666
it.
did
Okay.
because that was
Eli
Cause
was there
Isaac was
opening
back.
weekend.
that was a
Opening
big
weekend,
deal.
baby.
Yeah.
Big deal. Isaac was back, so like they were like, oh man, and you know what? Wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. That was a terrible movie.
Didn't change anything.
No, I'll be honest. I don't like. I enjoy parts and like some of the sequels, kind of for what they are. But there's nothing like this first one. And like when I was younger, I really liked it because, like I said, I kind of like I do like some like religious horror. I think it's tough, and it's either shit or it's good. And like the concept, and I think this is one of the ones I was younger. I like the concept. Then as I got a little older, I'm like, oh no, this is bad. But goddamn, do I love everything else in it, and I just keep loving it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I
I'm not yucking your yum. I'm just saying it. I've never been able to get there with this
Yeah.
movie.
oh no, yeah, and I've got to believe that the amount of sequels are simply like a which they're arguably more fun, even though they're so dumb. But it's kind of like a wrong turn thing where they don't warrant any sequels. It's just once
Exactly.
you got this franchise going, you're just going to keep
Right.
using the title.
If you
and
look,
putting numbers behind it because
Right.
it's becoming a joke too. Like
And
it
if you-
becomes
if you
like-
look to a lot of them, because I mean, across the whole series, Isaac was the most iconic leader of this. And if you look at all the sequels, they always try to replicate that with a different kid,
Mhm.
and it does terribly. So much so that I think the Isaac Returns, I think is 4 or 5 in the series. They're like, fuck it, let's just bring that back, Isaac. And so then you have these kids and what looks like a middle-aged man
yeah,
Right. Which also
Who's-
doesn't work.
still dressed as a child and like pretending to be like a child who's back to teach him. It's like kind of weird. And then they're like, well, he's too old. Obviously that didn't work. Fuck it. Let's just go back, try to keep replicating it. And I think that's what they've done. And like,
Oh,
they don't
They don't
land as
ever
well.
they don't ever just change course. So you know how some series it doesn't even matter anymore. They just
Yeah.
totally just they
Yeah.
just go they use
Yeah.
the title, but it's like not even
I'll be honest. I wish they would, or I wish they would do a super book accurate version. And like, hey, is this remake that just came out it? I don't know. Dave has now forced me that
Forced.
I've been ignoring it for weeks, and now talk about this. I'm like, I just
Eli.
gotta take that plunge
would you like me to read the critics' consensus of the new remake?
without
I think-
spoiling
I-
anything.
Yes, I think Dave will actually find it quite enjoyable considering the corny nature of the writing.
Ooh.
Yes.
Got some
the
bad
critic
jokes.
oh yeah, critic consensus of Children of the Corn. They say 2023, but I'm pretty sure it came out 21.
No, they remade it in 21, and they've released a new one in 23.
Well,
Two
this is
different
the
movies, yeah.
this is the 23 version. So
Okay.
bereft of a single kernel of fear or excitement, this Children of the Corn suggests the franchise is irrevocably lost in a maze, not a literal maze, maze like corn of sub-mediocrity.
I'm still gonna have to watch and see what they did in the ending. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
well, now, would you think this had a lower tomato score or the original,
the 2023 probably did.
Dave?
Are you about to tell me it's got a higher
It's
one
got-
than
but
the
it's
I'm
had
going
original?
to
higher,
say
'cause he's
the
saying it,
original
yeah.
has a lower.
lower, yeah.
Oh, okay. Jamie's gonna
I'm
go
going with Dave. Yeah, I think the original is
Okay.
a lower. Just because of what you're
No.
saying.
No, no, OG's better. 30
okay,
yeah.
to
All right.
11%.
I know.
30 to 11.
Oh,
These
30,
are not
yeah,
great
I thought it was
movies.
yeah. I thought it
I'm
was gonna be
I'm
like-
still gonna have to watch it though. Like I
Yeah.
need to see what this
I
ending
know.
is now.
But Eli, until I was actually reading the chronological order of these movie releases here
Mhm.
on our wonderful Rotten Tomatoes website, I was like, why in the world they call it Children of the Corn 666? You know why? It is the 6th
Or
movie.
I knew it was
So-
5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
had to
literally-
be 6. Duh.
But it's so bad. Why would you
Yeah.
It's
do
like
that?
Piranha 3
I'm
Double
also,
D. Like you
if
have
I'm
to ride
not
that when you're
mistaken, number 6 takes place around Halloween. Like they go just full.
Yeah,
like
you gotta go full.
if you don't know it's the devil by now, you're going to. And I think
Shockingly, children.
if I'm not mistaken, if it's 5, is it at the end of 5 and then it's 6, whatever? Like they even make Isaac a baby at one point.
Perfect.
I think you're the
Keep it
only
going.
one who knows these things.
Listen,
so.
listen. I'm telling you, I have been following the children through my career. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'll say, listen, they're not all good. Most of them are not, but I just keep hoping for them to recreate the magic of the first one, and or to
It's
give
like
me
your
like
Wendigo quest.
It is. I'm one of these days, like, or like they're going to give me the book accurate, just dark, depressing, like one.
By the way, there's a new Wendigo movie coming out next year, apparently.
Oh, thank God.
They can't even spell it right in the title. If
They
that
just
sets
spelled
your
wrong?
expectation.
Wow,
It's
I'm not gonna watch it.
WINDIGO.
Oh my God, I refuse to watch it. I refuse to watch it.
Excellent.
Like, listen, the guy just for a second, people of Hollywood, filmmakers. I just want to
Dear
say
Hollywood,
right? If you look like, listen, if you like, hey, you know what? Should I make the 970th Terminator movie? Or hey, let's see if there's any more Star Wars projects we can make. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go back through and listen to the Campfire Tales. Okay, we have talked about stuff in that show that does not have movies or good movies. Okay.
if you mention the donkey lady, I swear to God,
Listen, I'm not going to do that, okay? But I'm just saying, make those movies, okay? We've talked about
the Candy
different
Lady,
demons.
Texas.
We got the Candy Lady.
no.
We talked about, we've
Jersey Devil.
the Bunny Man, we've talked about some stuff. Make good movies on that stuff. Don't give me the 21st wrong turn. I don't care about hillbillies fucking and killing, okay? Listen.
Did you see the new one? It was terrible.
No, I made it 10 minutes in.
Oh God,
I
the
made it
2020
10
or 2021,
Atrocious.
whatever. Oh my God.
So I'm just saying,
bad.
filmmakers, just go back, okay? Look at the Campfire Tales. Pick anyone you want. And yeah, maybe as a thank you, you can sneak Donkey Lady in one for a minute. Like, whatever, cool. I'm not going to complain. But just like, we have an episode about like Japanese lore that's not The Grudge. So we don't need to make 17 grudges.
Well, they stopped with those, didn't they?
No,
Are we off
just
Japanese lore?
They had a remake come out 2 years where the girl,
my
it was
God.
basically Jaws, The Grudge. They literally just stole the plot of Jaws, but
She
made it
followed
The
them
Grudge.
somewhere?
And the head detective, or the main character, she dresses like Officer Brody the whole fucking movie.
Oh, I was thinking Jaws 4. I was thinking 4.
Mary was watching it, and I literally walked in and said, "What version of Jaws are you watching? Why does Brody look weird?" She's like, "No, it's the new Grudge." And I was like, "Holy shit!"
And then Eli got very angry.
I did, and then they're like, "Oh, here's the Grudge television show on Netflix." Which, hey, do you want to watch a more boring show? Because I can't think of one. Like, I'm just saying, people of Hollywood, like we've given you ideas, right?
Do better. I think is the bottom line.
Do better. I didn't need another Children of the Corn because you weren't going to do it right. All right.
And
Give me Donkey Lady.
If you align with Jamie and I, just make more drugged up creatures. Totally
You know what?
good.
At this point,
Yeah.
I would even take like a Meth Gator movie. Right?
Oh, you're going to get one. It's in production right
You
now.
can't say,
Oh, wow.
you cannot say, and we're not getting to fight, but you can't say that at least Cocaine Bear is more original than doing the 21st, like, Children of the Corn or Long Turn or
listen,
Grudge.
I can't argue that. And I would even say I wouldn't be so upset if they would do something like original in these Children of the Corns. But like I said, like every one of them is like, who can be the new Isaac?
Yeah, that's just stupid. I mean,
how about this guy named anybody know a religious name? Jebediah. Jebediah comes as the new preacher. Oh, is it the children again? The children. Like, okay, like,
Yeah, it's not a plot worth watching 6 times. Like,
unless you're gonna give me a book accurate one that's dark and bleak. Okay, I'm all in.
Well, the problem is that we keep, and especially now when it's been going for a few years, but I don't know if the new one plaster Stephen King's name all over it? Because the thing is, like, we're in this resurgence, like I said. I don't think because
so.
like it's like they made that what's the one I just watched? A short story about the phone one, the grave guy. Like, these things are good, but they're just shoving them out there. No, not the black phone. I hated that too. That's his son. That's Joe Hill.
Yeah.
But like the other, it was on Netflix real quick.
Yeah.
It was the kid from, it was like, he's calling through the cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's like
Mr.
Harrigan's phone, something like that. Point being is, like, they just keep saying, like, Stephen King, like, you just see his name and it's just like, and these things are not good. I don't know. I know it did like phenomenally and that set that, but like, it was fine. It was fine, but it wasn't like this, like,
hot take from Dave. The best movie that Stephen King has had come out in theaters is Dr. Sleep.
Oh, I agree with that.
Oh yeah, a lot of people like that. I didn't, but I get that. Yeah, that's fine. And that was actually like,
yeah, and I love The Shining, but I do not categorize The Shining as a Stephen King movie in theaters.
Yeah,
it's so different.
No, I get it. Yeah,
I
Dr. Sleep's great.
Yeah.
Gerald's Game was also fantastic.
It's true, but
I didn't watch it.
It was Netflix.
No, it was Netflix.
It was Netflix.
That's what I thought.
And then his other Corn movie with Thomas Jane.
Oh, Adults of the Corn.
Yeah, Adults of the Corn.
17 something or whatever.
It Rose or something. Yeah, something dumb.
1917, I believe, or 1922.
It was watching Thomas Jane walk around for what felt like 3 hours, giving the worst 1920s farmer accent.
Yeah.
I'm fixing to start figuring.
I didn't see it.
Adults of the Corn.
So we've spent the last 15 minutes not talking about Children of the Corn.
Sorry. I think we're done with Children of the Corn.
I think we're going to rein it in here.
Yeah. It's not a movie that can warrant a very long conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And I do appreciate, and this is one of those movies, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that is not my flavor of cake, but I totally get why somebody like Eli would enjoy it, because it does hit different for different people. And I know, and the one thing I will defend about this movie is this is probably one of the most quoted horror movies from the 80s of any of other movies, because we all know Outlander, and we know Outlander, we've got Your Woman, and there are so many like
South
touchstones of horror from the 80s that this movie kind of birthed. Isaac, Malachi's Look, all those kind of things. So I totally get that. It just doesn't do anything for Dave. Because
Simpsons, South Park. I mean, how many people have riffed off this thing?
Oh my God, so many.
Yeah.
Anywho, any other thoughts on Children of the Corn?
Nope.
If you don't have another dad joke, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Oh, well, you just keep your ears.
There he is. There it is.
I hate you two so much.
So we obviously do have a David's Critter Corner for this movie. And
is it literally corn?
No.
Animals.
Sarge.
Oh my God. It's
but I just thought for a second you're going to make it the corn because you said the earful thing. I was like,
that dog was adorable.
No, it was Sarge. And I'm going to start my Critter Corner by apologizing because I did some research and it's horseshit. And it may have upset Dave that there wasn't any more information about Sarge on the internet. Like I think I went deep, and he's not giving any kudos or anything. There's a couple of little notes that I found. The first thing that I found out is the same dog that played Sarge in this movie also played the same character, or at least the same named dog, Sarge, in a movie called Evil Speak. Have any of y'all seen Evil Speak?
Yes.
No. Well, Sarge is also in that movie, and it's the exact same dog, which is pretty cool.
But there's a puppy in that movie.
Exactly.
He's the puppy?
Yeah.
He's the little dog in that movie? There's like a little puppy in that movie.
Yeah, because Evil Speak came out, in 80?
I think so, yeah.
I'm thinking of the right movie, right? With what's his name?
81. Yeah, 1981. So, yeah, he would have been 3 years old in this movie. He'd have been a puppers in 81.
Oh, my God, that's so cute.
Isn't that funny? So, anyway, and my apology is that I never could really nail down what the breed of Sarge is. My suspicion is that he's either an Australian Shepherd Border Collie mix, or he's a Border Collie, or he's an Australian Shepherd. He's one of those three breeds. And
he wasn't a full breed. He was a mix.
He was speckled. He had his freckles on him like an Australian. The good news is all of those have very similar temperaments and very similar fun facts. So that's what I went with. I'm calling him a Border Collie Australian Shepherd mix. And the first thing I'll know, and Dave's going to get on his Apple box here for a minute. Border Collies and Australian Shepherds are considered some of the smartest dogs on the planet. However, according to David and his definition of intelligence, all that really means that these breeds are extremely trainable. That is not intelligence. That is not IQ, because I'll tell you, pit bulls, basset hounds, there are dogs that are extremely intelligent that just because they know better than to do what you tell them to do does not make them dumb. It makes them stubborn. Two totally different things. But Border Collies are the classic perception is that border collies are the smartest dogs. All that means is that they're extremely trainable. So that's what you need to know about them. They're working dogs. They need tasks to be happy. And I know that sounds weird, but there are some dogs that are just lap dogs and they're house pets and those kind of things. But a border collie is a working breed. That means that not only do they enjoy work, but it's like in their DNA to work. They need to have tasks to accomplish, to feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. It's built into their emotions. So if you're going to have them as a pet, and we're going to talk about this in the adoption facts in a minute, just know that they're working dogs. They're not to just lay around all day. They would be miserable with nothing to do. The name of a border collie, interesting enough, and I didn't know this, the name of the border collie comes from the fact that they were originally bred on the border between Scotland and England. Like that's where they came from, was that border area in the middle of the UK between Scotland and England. Didn't know that. They're one of the best herding dogs on the planet. And I've had personal experience with that when my grandfather, he had like 50 head of cattle on 100 acres. He had 3 border collies and they were the coolest dogs. And I was like 8 when he had them. And he would sit on the on the porch, the front porch. And this sounds like one of those movie moments. He would sit on the porch of this old rickety hut where they lived, their house, and no judgment there. And he would be rocking in his chair and he goes, well, Shep, which was the alpha of his little group of 3 border, Shep, it's probably time to feed the cattle. Shep would look at him. He'd bolt out into the field. 30 minutes later, those 3 dogs would have 50 head of cattle wrangled and at the barn, just waiting for Papa to get off the porch and go feed them. They would just keep them there until he decided to get up off of his rocker and go feed them. Once he would go feed them, he would walk back over to the porch and he would climb back up. And Shep and the other 3 dogs would come and stand at the bottom of the porch. And he'd go, I think y'all forgot something. And they would all 3 follow Shep, who was the alpha, down to the creek and wash their feet before they could get up on the porch. They were the coolest dogs on the planet. Now, unfortunately, I think Shep, and this is just something I suspect, and my dad and I have talked about it, I think Shep may have either had a close strike or got struck by lightning, because later in his life, he became really stressed out when thunder would happen. Like it would affect him. He would claw at the door to get in the house. And, if somebody wasn't there to let him in, he would hurt himself. Like he would cut his paws and stuff on the storm door and everything. But anyway, coolest dog I've ever seen. But they're working dogs. Shep needed that purpose to feel fulfilled. He needed to have something to do. And it wasn't for the adoration or pets he would get for doing his job. He just needed the job. He just needed something to do. So I'm going to step off of the apple box at this point and get off my little sermon there.
I currently have 2 of my best friends both have border collies. So
really?
I could vouch for all of this. They're very high energy. Very high energy. That's
the other thing about them that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I didn't know this, but Queen Victoria of England, this was her favorite breed. Like, Queen Elizabeth had her corgis. Well, apparently Queen Victoria had her border collies, and tells me a lot about her as a person. Like she was probably a busy person. One of the most popular breeds as an actor, which is no surprise at all. Again, back to that trainability. They are very popular in Hollywood because you can teach them to do just about anything. And you'll see, I think even the dog in Crawl, he was a mixed breed, but he had he certainly had border collie or shepherd in him.
He had terrier in him, and I don't know. Yeah.
So, some fun little information about celebrities that have owned border collies in the past is James Dean had border collies. Anna Paquin had border collies. Jamie, you'll appreciate this. Guess who John Bon Jovi's favorite breed is?
Border collie.
Yep. John Bon Jovi loves his border collies. Ethan Hawke, who you also love, Jamie, border collie guy. James Franco likes border collies. We're going to move right along. And Tiger Woods is also a big fan of the border collies.
We're also going to move along.
Exactly. So, but as we always try and do when we talk about actual pet breeds, things that people might want to bring into their homes and adopt and make part of their families, I want to give you few facts that just to set expectations and give you a reality check. As Jamie said, these are high energy dogs. It is not okay. And I'm going to place judgment on this statement. It is not okay to adopt a border collie if you're a 80-hour work week professional, because the dog's going to be miserable, and then you're going to be miserable because they're going to destroy your house because they're going to act out. They're extremely high energy, and it's not like other breeds. And Jamie can give me some breeds, but I'm thinking of things like Cocker Spaniels or Beagles, where it's not that they miss the people. They need things to do. Like a border collie is a very independent thinker. It is not, it doesn't have a strong pack instinct, but it has a strong work instinct. So it needs things to do. They're surprisingly, and I found this interesting because I always assumed because they were, for the most part, ours were outside dogs, but apparently, and maybe Jamie can speak to this, border collies, Australian shepherds, all of those kinds of breeds are not hard to take care of. They're minimal shedders. They're not huge shedders like a lot of other breeds are. Like apparently they don't shed nearly as much as you, because they are long-haired dogs. But apparently they don't have 2 and 3 coats like some of the other dogs, like even Jamie's dog, Miss Sari. She's a 2 coat, or is she a 3 coat?
She's a double coat.
Okay.
2.
But apparently border collies don't have a lot of maintenance tied to them. They need a high protein diet because they are going to work. They're going to be high energy. They're going to be very busy. Jamie, if you're watching on YouTube, Jamie's got a border collie buddy. What's her name?
That's Maple.
That's Maple.
One of my best friend's dog. Brand new adoption dog. She's a girl. She got along very well with Sari. She was very happy.
Good.
Got a home now.
And to that point, and it's something to know if you're going to adopt, border collies are very good at socializing with other dogs. They are not as great at socializing with other animals. Like if you have ferrets or cats or rabbits or snakes or whatever. And the reason it's not that they're aggressive, it's that they're herd dogs. Like they are used to controlling other animals. And Jamie can attest to a cat's not really going to be down with being herded around the house.
No, not at all.
So the dog will be fine, but just know that your other animals may not be chill with the way a border collie is going to behave around them because they'll want to herd them. They'll want to control them. It's in their DNA. It's just the way they are. And then generally they are a good family dog. They're soft mouth dogs, meaning that they're not hard biters. And they're also very patient as long as they're trained to be patient. But, and I don't know how else to say this, you've got to train them. If you're going to adopt a border collie, have a training plan, whether it's fetching or toying or sniffing, some sort of exercise that they can kind of own, whether it's you hide treats and they sniff them out or any of that kind of stuff. But any other thoughts? Anybody have any other ideas on our buddy Sarge and his breed, the border collie, Australian shepherd, whatever the heck he was?
He was just adorable.
He was great while we had him. Also, there's Artemis, the Aussie, who's quite the entertainer on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I send John every single video by that dog. So John, my friend Dave, my mom. That dog is great.
I love watching Australian shepherds and border collies work because I've never felt the joy that you can see on that animal's face when it's doing its work. They're doing little like tricks or training it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has more joy than that face.
No, not mine. My dog is stubborn and takes joy in purposely not doing what you're asking her to do, even though she knows exactly what to do. It's more of like the joy in just revolting.
Yeah. And to David's sermon, that does not make her dumb. It makes her emotionally complex.
She's really smart. She's just stubborn.
Exactly. So Eli, what are we going to be following up Children of the Corn with on Campfire Tales?
Well, Children of the Corn is not based on anything, but I wanted to look. And would you all believe that there are actual corn demons in Lores and Legends?
I would 100% believe that.
So we're going to be talking about some corn and vegetable associated demons and monsters.
Veggies are evil.
Be honest, Eli. I was hoping for Colt game number 3, but I guess we're gonna have to wait
Too
for that one.
soon. Too soon.
Listen,
I know.
First
number
off,
2 just happened.
too soon. Secondly, this may not be our only cult movie for the year. So you just
we've got plenty coming.
Yeah,
hold yourself.
All right.
And also, I need Jamie to feel comfortable in her semi-win last time.
She's won both. I think
I won both, dude.
The score is 2-0.
Technically, Jeff won the first one.
No, technically, I won.
You lost because you tried to get Dave to join a call where you gave your answer.
She didn't try.
We went over. Remember, we went over this math. Right now, you and Jeff are tied 1-1.
No.
All right.
John is
like fake news to me.
John
you
is
believe what you want to believe.
John is -4 points, and Dave, you're -2.
Yeah.
I went over this in that episode.
I'm pretty sure I have less points than that, Eli, because I wasn't even on the first.
Oh, that's right. I gave you an additional -16 by the end of it. You're -20, actually.
Well, I know because I voluntarily joined Jamie's cult post the first cult
right, which is why. Well, now I got to give you another -11.
This is devolving into Campfire Tales territory right now.
You're a Campfire Tale
perfect.
territory.
I am a Campfire Tale territory.
So if you want to hear an hour of this, just wait till next week. We'll be there doing it. If you want to, please subscribe and rate the show. Thank you for listening. We are genuinely grateful that you've spent the last hour and a half with us. It makes us very happy. If you didn't do it, we'd miss you. So keep listening to the show, rate the show. As Jamie has reminded me a time or two, please comment on the rating. If you give us 5 stars and no comment, we really don't know why you love us. I mean, we know we're great, but we need you to tell us so other people can hear why we're great. That's all we're saying.
These are all considerations on the Mole King application too, by the way.
Wow.
If you want to learn more about us or kind of the philosophy behind the Wicked Wild podcast and the things we're doing and why we're doing it, you can go to our website, thewickedwild.com. We've got several book reviews, movie reviews. We've got some travel journals from Eli and Jeff. Ooh. And then our buddy Joe Ferry has also given us a couple of articles on Cinema Road Trip. That he talks about independent movies that are set in a place that actually gets into the history and the reality of that place, which is pretty cool. If you want to follow us on social media, you've got 2 options. Well, actually, is YouTube social media? Somebody give me a reading.
I don't know.
Okay, I wouldn't think so either. So as far as social media, you got 2 options: Twitter at Wicked While We Are, and then Slasher, which is the horror only community at Wicked While We Are is there. And then as I mentioned just now, we are also on YouTube. Just search the Wicked Wild podcast and you'll find us. And exciting to the host, they didn't even know this week, I learned how to do chapters so we can break up each of our videos into each of the segments of the main show. I did try and do that with the Campfire Tales, Eli, but there's no chapters.
Listen, you know why? Because we're pure, unadulterated
mayhem.
Chaos.
Yeah,
I'm an agent of chaos, people. I'm here to keep things fresh,
fluid. Let's call it fluid
and fresh, like urine.
If you have any questions or if you want to give us any feedback or thoughts on the show or any of the stuff that we've covered, we'd love to get that. You can email it directly to me at podcast, podcast, at thewickedwild.com. Anything else, folks? Well, as we always say on this show, our recommendation to you is to get lost because it may be the only place you can find yourself.